Hello traders, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this video from, and welcome to another episode where we kind of break down what we are seeing on these markets. So I don't want to waste a lot of time, so I'm just gonna go ahead into the content of the video today. So today we're gonna be looking at three pairs only. I'm going to be looking at DXY. I'm going to be looking at EURUSD and gold. I'm not going to do GBP USD. And the reason for that is because the price action that I'm getting with GBP USD at the moment is not that clear. So I don't want to waste your time with GBP USD until it plays out more. I believe this week, because we do have some news coming in for GBP USD. Until then, probably starting next week, we will start analyzing that market. But as of now, I don't want to touch it. So this is the weekly chart for DXY. This is the weekly chart for the DXY, and you can see that um, on the weekly chart, the DXY is quite bearish. We broke structure right around that level, and just to make this a little bit faster, I'm gonna read through what I've written here. So weekly analysis, the weekly swing structure is bearish. We can see that price broke structure to the downside. We are in a pullback phase of the market, and we can see that price came all the way to the weekly extreme zone, and from there we are starting to see the selling signs. So this is what I mean. We broke structure here. We pulled back all the way to the extreme zone. So this is the weekly extreme zone. We tapped into it, at least there, but we do have some what we call the fractal zones. Remember, the zone or the S&D zones, the supply and demand zones, we can categorize them into three. Or, yeah, we can categorize them into three. So the first one being the range, taking the whole candle. Um, you can take the body of the candle all the way to the wick, and we do have these fractal zones, which only comprises of the wicks. So until we break out of that range, until we break out of the range of the candle, you should assume that the level is still holding. So it kind of looks like we did come all the way to test the fractal of that zone, and you can see the reaction that we got from there. The market started to sell off, and that is what I mean here. We are starting to see the selling signs. So in terms of the fractal structure, remember I do when doing my analysis, I do categorize structure into three parts. We do have the swing structure, which is the main structure. We do have the internal and the fractal. Fractal is just the most responsive or the most aggressive form of structure. So here I'm just saying in terms of fractal structure, we are bullish coming into a demand zone. So from here it is likely to see a continued consolidation. And the reason why I'm saying that we are likely to see a continued consolidation is because we are kind of sandwiched between this zone, which is the supply zone, and this demand zone, which is not clear on the weekly time frame, but it will become more clear on the daily time frame. So overall, I'm short on the DXY in the medium term, and I'd want to see price returning to the weekly order block to fill the imbalances and then continue to the downside. So even though I am medium term, I'm short on the DX or the dollar. Ideally, I'd want to see price coming in to fill some of these imbalances before continuing to the downside. That is what I mean. So if we move to the daily, let's see what we have. So this is where we broke structure on the daily time frame. Um, so the daily is bullish, quite bullish. We broke structure, and remember what I always say: once we break structure, what we should be expecting is a pullback on that time frame. So we broke structure, and you can see the market is starting to make that pullback. right? We came into this daily decisional zone that has already been mitigated. As you can see, I've indicated that. So which means it is possible that we see this zone break, right? But at the same time, it is important to note the price action that we are getting out of this zone. And one of the signal that we are seeing is bulls or the buyers starting to come into the market. And one of the signal that illustrates to me that bulls or the buyers have started to come into the market is the fact that we broke fractal structure to the upside, right? So it was bearish. We had a bearish fractal um, we had a bearish fractal structure, um, tapped into the zone, and right now you can kind of start to see the early signs or the early signals that buyers are starting to come into the market. So this was the when we took out that high, or when we took out that fractal high, which was fractal protected high, that was a signal for me that buyers are starting to come into the market. So from here, it is possible to see that continued move to the upside. And remember, on the weekly, I did say that I'm bearish or I'm short on the dollar, but I don't want to see market actually coming or price coming to fill some of these imbalances before we continue shorting the DXY. So following that, going into next week, I don't want to see that you know that pressure, buying pressure coming into the market slowly. All right, I don't want to see that sustained, or buyers coming into the market. And what would give me more confidence is if we continue taking out this fractal structure. If I've actually indicated here that the fact that we got that uh, the the fact that we got this break of structure to the upside could mean that this law is now being induced. All right, it could mean that the law is being induced. So ideally, I'd want to see, sorry, ideally I'd want to see a sharp reaction from my zone the first time we are tapping into them. But the fact that we have had several taps into our demand zone and the price hasn't really gone anywhere, it shows that it is likely that the demand zone will fail. So this is what I was just saying. The fact that we've tapped into this zone several times, it is likely that the zone might fail, meaning that this low could be induced, and that would mean this is the zone that must hold. Right. So moving on to 4 hours. Again, what we are seeing. So the 4 hours is kind of clean and clear. You can see that bullish pressure coming into the market. So this is where it broke structure to the downside. But then market or price broke fractal structure to the upside. Okay, so you can kind of see that we are starting to get that sustained bullish pressure coming into the market. So I'd watch how price behaves, or the kind of price action that we get from these zones. If we break and close above the fractal targeted high, when in good, that would mean that the bullish pressure is being sustained, right? And we are looking for buys in the DXY, basically buy to sell. That is it. That is it on the DXY. Let's look EURUSD starting on the weekly. We are starting on the weekly. Let's see what we have. Again, just like the DXY, you can see this is where we broke structure to the downside. So EURUSD is bearish, right? So we broke structure to the downside. Price has started to pull back into the zone. So now our focus will be the fractal structure, and we do have these supply zones, right? So price broke structure to the downside, and we are starting to see the price of market pulling back. And this is the first area where we kind of want to see the reaction from these supply zones. So if we move to the daily, If we move to the daily, you can see two things stand out. We do have that trend line. And I remember last week I did mention that for me to even consider selling Euro USD, or for me to consider short opportunities on Euro USD, I don't want to see this demand zone failing. So this demand zone must fail in order for me to even consider selling opportunities. And not just that, I don't want to see how price behaves or how price interacts or reacts with this trend line. All right. So last week I did mention that those were the two things that I would be looking for in order for me to even consider the sales. And right now you can see that bullish. Sorry for that. So what I was saying is that right now we can see price, or we can see a sustained bullish pressure coming into the market. We are starting to form that fractal structure. So the fractal structure is bullish. This is where we broke fractal structure to the upside, tapping into this daily supply zone. So it is possible. It is possible that we see price actually starting to melt from this level. But again, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna repeat it again. For me to even consider sales, at least let me see these demands failing, and not just that, let me see this fractal protected loan getting taken out. So which means I'd have to, it's just a patience game. um, we don't want to see this fractal loan getting taken out for us to even consider sales from that level. So if we have a situation where the market, we've already tapped into that zone, and now the market starts to melt, taking out our fractal protected loan. So the way that I would trade this market, I would just wait for a pullback and then a sell off. All right. So that is how I would trade that market. All right. Other than that, I'm continuing to look for buying opportunities, and I did remember last week we had a very lucrative opportunity on Euro USD. So if we look at the 4 hours, we look at the 4 hours again, it's just a repeat of the same. Only that now on the 4 hours we're just refining these zones. There you can see we do have that sustained bullish pressure, right? We do have that sustained ever since we broke out of that trend line. You can see we do have that sustained bullish pressure. Now we know the direction, so the next obvious question becomes, where are we getting involved? So any pullbacks into this 4 hours extreme zone should be sufficient enough, or should give us an opportunity to go long. Now let's look at the 15 minutes. Again, this is where we broke structure on the 15 minutes. Again, we're just refining these zones. So the first opportunity, or the first area that we should be looking to get involved, would be that one. The next would be this one, and I'm in favor of this zone. If we do get a deeper pullback, then this is the zone that we should be looking to get involved. Right? Buying, targeting this 15 minutes extreme zone. And that's about it. Um, for Euro USD, moving on swiftly, let's look at gold. All right. Let's look at gold. Okay, so gold is quite bullish. This is where it broke structure to the upside. We are in this pullback phase, and the good thing is that gold has started to show us signal that bulls or buyers are coming into the market to defend their positions. All right, so um, we tapped into these demand zone, and you can see we do have that sustained move to the upside. Now if we move to daily time frame, let's go to the daily time frame. You can see we do have that swing trend change tapping into our daily extreme zone, right? So this is our daily extreme zone, um, daily supply zone. So from here, remember guys, what I always say, and this is something that should be hard coded in your mind. Whenever we get a break of structure, we should be expecting a pullback, and pullbacks do not happen in isolation. They come, they happen from a place of supply, and this is that place that we are saying we did break structure to the upside, tapping into a place of supply. So from this level, we may see some bearish pressure coming in to form that lower, higher low, and then continue with the bullish move to the upside. So it is possible, or it is likely, that we see some bearish pressure coming into the market, pushing this price all the way to this daily extreme demand zone, and so from here we may see. So ideally, the move that I'm anticipating is something of the sort with gold, which means we can sell all the way and then buy gold to the upside. Now, if we move to 4 hours, if we move to 4 hours, that is essentially what I'm talking about. We did tap into that 4 hour extreme zone. We did get that change of character. SOSP means the start of the swing pullback, because this is where we broke swing structure to the upside. Um, Fractal structure has switched bearish to signal that the swing pullback has already begun or is beginning. So if we know that the swing pullback is beginning, then the next question is, where are we getting involved? Because the sales have begun, and we've identified a zone right there. So this is the zone that I'd be looking to get involved with, or into um, getting involved with, to sell gold to the downside, to come to some of these levels, and then continue buying from there. Okay, so if we go to 15 minutes, sorry for that. If we go to 15 minutes, you can see this is where the 15-minute swing structure changed from bullish to bearish. Um, and as you can see, so these are just some of the levels that I'm looking to sell gold from. All right, any one of these should be sufficient, should do for me to sell gold, targeting what? Targeting these 15 minutes low. I think that's it. I think that's it. I know it's I did go very very fast, um, but I hope you got value out of this video. Thank you.